nasagutan before. But before that, you can copy this answer key. So, pakibilisan na lang, guys. So, dito sa biology quiz number 2, I think more than half naman dito, puro objective type lang. So, screenshot na lang kayo ng mabilis, ha? Para medyo mabilis tayo, yung mabilis yung pacing natin. Pero pagdating naman po dun sa genetics portion, syempre, i-discuss naman natin yan. So, don't worry. Okay? Okay na? Ay. Okay na po. So, sige, kung hindi nyo po na-kopya, babalikan ko na lang later after the quiz. But let's now move on to number 1. Okay? So, try to answer din po kung alam niyo yung sagot, ha? Alam niyo yan kasi na-discuss na natin. Anyway, for number 1, which of the following is true regarding base pairs? Oh, what do you think? Is it A, B, C, or D? Napag-usapan natin to kanina, guys. Kahit mahapyaw lang, pero napag-usapan natin. And the correct answer, very good, it's letter D. Okay? Remember that your adenine and thymine pairs and also your cytosine and guanine pairs would result from favorable configurations in their nitrogenous bases. So configurations for hydrogen bonding. Okay? So for number 1, letter D yung tamang sagot. Sige, go ahead, copy. Yan, sana di niya rinig yung aso ko sa background. Anyway, number 2. Para naman pwede na. For number 2, what is the non-Mendelian law of genetics associated with blood type AB? Example din natin yan kanina. Is it A, B, C, or D? What do you think? Okay, very good. Ang sabi natin kanina, your blood type AB is a perfect example of codominance. And codominance happens kapag may dalawa tayong dominant na allele. Okay, kaya letter C is the correct answer sa number 2. So, pakikopya na lang din. Okay? Number 3. Madali lang to. Biochemically, most enzymes are blank. A, nucleic acids, B, carbohydrates, C, lipids, D, proteins. Siguro naman guys, tama tayong lahat dito. Ano? Mapapaisip ka kapag may nagkamali pa. Tamang sagot, letter D. Dapat lahat kayo letter D yung sagot dyan. Okay? Wala pong sasagot ng ABC, please. Ha? Mabalik ko kayo sa college. Anyway, number 3, letter D yung tamang sagot. Number 4. Pwede na? So for number 4, which of the following is true regarding active transport? Meron dito na hindi natin pinag-usapan, pero kahit di natin yung napag-usapan, you should know the answer to this one. Napakadali. Active transport, ang sabi natin, gumagamit siya ng ATP. Ang sagot lang dito dapat letter A. Okay? Bakit hindi po letter D? Bakit mali yung letter C? Kasi remember guys, kapag facilitated diffusion, passive transport yon. Okay? Nawalan ako ng boses. Anyway, diffusion, as long as you see the word diffusion, passive transport yon automatically. Alright? So, ayun. So, sa number 4, letter A lang po yung tamang sagot. Letter B, mali rin ito kasi tatlong potassium po yung tatlong sodium po yung lumalabas, dalawang potassium po yung pumapasok dun sa ating pump. Okay? So, ayan, pakicopy na lang din guys for your reference. Nawawala na ako ng boses, sorry. And then number 5. So freshwater protein is placed in water with a very high salt concentration. The following statement is true. So ito ay diniscuss din natin kanina. Ito yung mga tonic solutions. So what is your answer? Is it A, B, C, or D? Mataas daw yung salt concentration sa solution natin. Take note. Ano kaya ang posibleng tamang sagot? Okay, very good. Answer natin, letter C. Ay hypertonic yung solution. Remember, kapag hypertonic, saan na yung, ayan, hyper means high. So, mataas dapat yung solute concentration in your solution. Okay? At kapag mataas yung solute concentration natin sa solution, remember that your water exits the cell. Okay? At kapag nag-exit yung tubig from the cell, syempre liliit siya. It's going to shrink. Again, number 5, letter C is the correct answer. So, reviewin nyo to ha. Ayan, so pakicopy na lang po nung slide and then we'll move on to number 6. Alright, okay, number 6 po, another question on tonicity. So madali lang to. What type of solution is present when water moves both in and out of the cell, but no net water movement is observed? Napakadali. Giveaway. A, B, C, or D? Ay, very good. Letter D. Dapat lang guys, isotonic solution. Walang ibang answer ha. For number 6, again, letter D is the correct answer. Feel free to copy the slide. And then number 7. Pwede na? So for number 7, which of the following enzymes catalyze the transfer of electrons or hydrogen atoms from one molecule to another? Na-discuss din natin to kanina. Sana hindi pa kayo tulog nun. Ano po ang sagot? Kapag transfer of electrons, that has something to do with redox reactions. Alin dyan yung may kinalaman sa redox or very similar sa redox? So if you look at the name, it's letter C, oxidoreductase. Again, guys, hydrolase po is for hydrolysis. Ligase, so ligation, so joining of two or more chemicals together. Transferase naman, guys, sabi ko sa inyo, do not confuse it with oxidoreductase. Oxidoreductase, electrons ang tinatransfer. Transferase naman, functional group yung tinatransfer. Sige. Okay, so number 8. So which of the following is not true regarding osmosis? So, alin kaya dyan? Yung hindi daw po totoo regarding osmosis? So, A, B, C, or D? So, nandun yan sa diniscuss natin earlier. Tignan na lang natin kung natatandaan ninyo. Okay po, very good. Letter B. So remember na ang tubig, ang kanyang preferred na natural flow ay from low to high solute concentration. Because again, water, ginagamit natin yan for osmoregulation. Kaya mas prefer niya, mas marami yung solute. For solutes naman, ang natural flow ng solutes natin ay high to low. So, tatandaan niyo yung difference sa water, low to high, solute, high to low. So for number 8, letter B po is the correct answer. So sige po, pakikopya. And then number 9, madali lang din to. So enzymes is and chemical reactions by blank. So ano po ang mechanism ng ating enzymes? Is it A, B, C, or D? So unang-unang slide natin for the day. So, not really the first one, pero the first for the discussion. So ano yung ating sagot? Very good, letter A. So it lowers the activation energy of the reaction. Wala na pong ibang mode of action yan. So yan lang po ang mechanism ng enzymes natin. Okay po. So pakicopy na lang ng slide before we go to number 10. Okay. On number 10. So genetics question po ito pero relatively easy lang naman. So a homozygous dominant is crossed with a heterozygote. Which of the following is not a possible genotype of the offspring? So pag homozygous dominant, dalawang dominant alleles yan. Cross daw po natin with the hetero. Ano po ang makukuha ninyo? Ano pala ang hindi nyo pwedeng makuha? O, sige, pakikopya ng slide bago ako pumunta dun sa solution. Pero looks like tama naman kayo ng mga sagot. But again, guys, pakicopy na lang muna ng slide before I move on. Okay na? So, correct answer, letter C. Of course, di ba? Wala naman kayo nakikita dyan na dalawang recessive na alleles. Iisa lang yung recessive allele natin dito. So, there's no way that you can get a homozygous recessive. So, ito yung Punnett square natin. Kita nyo naman wala tayong homorecessive dyan. Letter C yung sagot. So, you can also copy the solution. Okay? On number 11, so the pedigree below tracks Duchenne muscular dystrophy or DMD through several generations. DMD is an X-linked recessive trait. Okay? If individuals 1-1, ito siya, tsaka si 1-2 had another son, what is the chance that he would have DMD? Madali lang to guys, hindi nyo po kailangan mag-Punnett square dito. Remember yung ating clue? Ang clue natin for X-linked recessive is a mother-to-son transmission. So, based dito sa clue natin, what should be your answer in number 11? A, B, C, or D? Oh, wag mag-overthink. Hindi nyo po kailangan mag-Punnett square. Based lang sa clue, ang sabi natin, mother-to-son transmission. Kapag si nanay ay shaded, lahat ng anak niyang lalaki will be shaded as well. Wala pong matitira, wala pong may iwan na anak na lalaki. Lahat yan, 100% magiging shaded. Okay? Kaya ang answer natin sa number 11 would be letter D, 100%. Very good. So, pakicopy na lang guys ng question. Okay? So, you can also copy the next slide. Again, letter D yung tamang sagot. Okay, number 12. So, for number 12, ayan, medyo mahaba. The pedigree below tracks the presence of attached earlobes through a family's generation. Having attached earlobes is an autosomal recessive trait. If individual 36, ito po si individual 36, married a man who was homozygous for unattached earlobes, what is most likely to be true regarding their children? Okay? Ang unang step natin dito is to identify alin yung ating dominant at saka recessive na trait. What is your dominant trait? Is it attached or unattached earlobes? Very good. Unattached. Okay? Kasi nabanggit na dito, having attached earlobes daw po is an autosomal recessive trait. So malamang, yung attached earlobes dapat recessive yan. Okay? And since we have an autosomal recessive pedigree, lahat ng nakashade dito, recessive po yung trait na pinapakita. That means, itong si individual 36, okay? Ayan, si individual, tama ba? Individual 36, yan, would also have recessive trait. Okay? So, recessive trait. At kung recessive trait siya, ang kanyang genotype should be homozygous recessive. Okay? Meanwhile, yung papakasalan daw niya, or yung pinakasalan pala niya, would be homozygous for unattached earlobes. So, kung homozygous for unattached, ano po yung genotype ng kanyang husband? Okay, very good. Homozygous dominant. So, this is going to be your cross. Okay? Hetero tuloy. Homorecessive, exer homodominant. Okay, so do the Punnett square, tapos ano yung magiging sagot? So, kanina may mga nakita na akong tamang sagot, but the rest, so you can try. And you can also copy the question while you're at it. Okay? Sige. Sige. Kopya niya rin guys yung question. Okay? So, for the Punnett square, it's going to look something like this. So, kita niyo naman, 4 na heterozygotes yan. So, that means, lahat po ng ating offspring would be unattached. Okay? So, letter D is the correct answer. Very good. And papakicopy na lang nung solution, guys, or ng Punnett square before we go to number 13. Okay? Paano po naging homozygous recessive si 36? Remember, guys, ayan, babalikan ko lang ha kasi may nagtatanong. Ayan, remember na kapag autosomal recessive o kaya naman X-linked recessive yung pedigree natin, automatic po lahat ng nakashade, recessive yung trait nila. At kung recessive yung trait mo, ang genotype mo lang ay homozygous recessive. Because remember, you need 2 recessive alleles to express a recessive trait. Okay? Kaya itong si 36, dahil nakashade siya, automatic po recessive yan, homo-recessive ang kanyang genotype. Nakuha po ba? Yes po. Pag autosomal recessive, lahat ng shaded recessive. Kapag naman autosomal dominant, lahat ng shaded dominant. Okay? Tatandaan nyo yan, guys. So, also applies to sex-linked or X-linked. X-linked recessive, lahat ng shaded recessive. X-linked dominant, lahat ng shaded dominant. Ayan. So, number 13. So, for number 13, the pedigree below tracks the presence of dimples through a family's generation. Having dimples is an autosomal dominant trait. If individual 33, ito siya, si individual 33, married a woman who was heterozygous for dimples, what is the percent chance that their children will have dimples? Okay? So dito, binigyan na tayo ng isang genotype for the parent. Ang sabi, si ate girl daw ay hetero. Okay? Ang kailangan lang nating malaman is yung genotype nung tatay. Ito si individual 33. Kakasabi ko lang, autosomal dominant, pedigree, or inheritance, lahat ng nakashade, dominant. So itong si individual 33, dominant yan. At kung dominant siya, ang possible lang niya na maging genotype ay either homo-dominant or hetero. Now, paano natin malalaman kung alin dito sa dalawa yung tamang genotype ni individual 33? Pupuntahan mo yung parents niya. Ito yung parents ni individual 33. Okay? Si 21 at saka si 22. Mapapansin mo, si tatay ay recessive, si nanay ay dominant. Kung recessive si tatay tapos dominant si nanay, ano na lang ang posibleng maging, tawag dito, ano na lang yung possible or yung mas likely na maging genotype nitong individual 33 natin? Hetero. Very good. Siyempre, di ba, kung homo-recessive X something na dominant, it's always going to give you a hetero. Okay? So, this is now a cross between 2 heterozygotes. Ayan. So, cross ninyo. Gawa nyo ng Punnett square. Hetero x hetero, what is going to be your answer? What is the percent chance na may dimples yung anak nila? A, B, C, or D? Sige. Guys, pakicopy na rin ng question, ha? Yes po. So, in this particular example, yung shaded naman ay dominant. Malalaman ninyo kung sino yung shaded, depende na lang kung anong klaseng inheritance siya. Okay? So, syempre, kapag nakita niyo yung dominant dun sa pangalan ng inheritance, lahat ng shaded dominant. Okay? Okay na po, nakopya na natin. Punta tayo ngayon sa solution. So, if you cross two heterozygotes, ang makukuha lang po natin dyan ay one homodominant, dalawang hetero, at saka isang homorecessive. Or, tatlong dominant, isang recessive. So, the answer here is 75%. Okay? Letter C. Okay? Yes po. If ano po yung na-mention sa given po na question, doon lang po ba i-base if dominant or recessive yung shaded? Yes. Okay? It depends na lang po kung ano yung given na inheritance type. Okay? So, doon kayo magbe-base kung ano yung naka-shade. Pero for pedigree lang yan ha, guys. Kapag naman binigay na sa inyo exactly kung ano yung dominant at saka recessive na alleles, so no need naman na po for the pedigree. I mean, ayun. So, wag kayong masyadong kabahan sa pedigree. Wag kinakabahan kayo masyado. It's very simple. Okay? So, kung ano lang yung binigay sa inyo na inheritance type, doon kayo magbe-base kung ano yung naka-shade. Simple. Kung may dominant sa pangalan, lahat ng shaded dominant. Kung may recessive sa pangalan, lahat ng shaded ay recessive. Alright? Think of it this way, guys. Remember that your pedigree is a family tree. Dito sa example na to, dimples yung tinitignan. And since dimples ay originally dominant talaga siya na trait, so lahat ng shaded dun sa ating pedigree, lahat yan may dimples sila. Ay may dimples sila. At dahil nga dominant trait si dimples, so lahat yan nung naka-shade natin, dominant sila. Okay? Huwag niyong kakalimutan na family tree lang ito, na may genetics. Okay? Anyway, let's now move on to number 14. So ito, number 14, medyo complicated, pero sana masundan ninyo. So for number 14, hemophilia is an X-linked recessive genetic disorder in which blood fails to clot properly due to gene mutations. A person with hemophilia may experience easy bruising and sudden bleeding. The pedigree diagram below shows the inheritance of hemophilia. What could be the possible genotypes and phenotypes of the parents? So this time, ang kailangan nating malaman ay yung phenotype at saka genotype ng mga magulang. Okay? So paano natin malalaman yan? You have to look at the offsprings. Remember, X-linked recessive is a mother-to-son transmission. Ang sabi natin, kapag shaded si nanay, lahat ng anak niya dapat na lalaki ay shaded din. Okay? You look at the sons. Ito yung kanyang anak na lalaki. Itong dalawang to. Ito po ay son-in-law lang ha. Son-in-law. Hindi niya yan anak. So ito lang yung son. Si son 1 at saka si son 2. At mapapansin niyo hindi lahat ng anak na lalaki ay naka-shade. So may nabanggit ako about that kanina. Ang sabi natin, kapag po hindi lahat ng anak na lalaki ay shaded, what is the possible identity or genotype of the mother? Starts with the letter C. Very good. Carrier. Diba? Magiging carrier siya. Bakit siya carrier? Remember that X-linked, ang kanyang gene of interest ay nasa X chromosome. Si nanay ay may dalawang X chromosome. Yung isang X chromosome, dominant. Yung isa naman, recessive. Okay? Itong recessive na to, so carry lang niya yan, pero hindi niya yan ine-express. Kaya nga carrier lang yung tawag sa kanya. pwede na yung isang X chromosome niya na dominant or normal ay napunta dito kay normal na anak na lalaki. Meanwhile, ito namang kanyang hindi ganun ka-normal, ay kanyang hemophilic na X chromosome ay napunta dito sa anak niyang lalaki na affected. Okay? Kaya usually kapag carrier si nanay, ang kanyang mga anak na lalaki ay hati. Kalahating normal, kalahati naman na affected. Okay? This is what happens. Nasusundan po ba kung bakit carrier si nanay? Nasusundan? Any questions? Okay? So yan. So na-establish na natin na carrier yung nanay. How about the father? So sa tatay naman, pwede natin tignan yung mga anak na babae. Bakit? Kasi si tatay, ang nabibigay lang niya or nabibigay niya kasi yung kanyang X chromosome sa anak na babae. Remember, di ba, ang mga babae, dalawa yung X chromosome niyan. Isang X chromosome galing kay nanay, isang X chromosome galing kay tatay. Kapag lalaki naman, ang X chromosome nila ay galing lang sa nanay, ang galing naman kay tatay ay si Y chromosome. Okay? Nako, sana tandaan nyo yun or sana alam nyo yun ha, kung saan galing yung mga chromosomes ninyo. Hindi po yan random. Okay? Half of your X chromosomes or half of your sex chromosomes will come from your mother, the other half is from the father. Okay? And in your daughter's case or in the case of females, ang kanilang isang X chromosome ay galing kay tatay. Okay? At kung mapapansin ninyo, yung ating dalawang anak na babae ay dominant. Okay? Or normal. Kung dominant sila, ano lang kaya ang posibleng trait ni tatay? Dominant or recessive? Kung dominant yung mga anak na babae, okay, very good, dominant. So the father would have a dominant allele. So with that, ang sagot natin, letter A. Normal male, tapos female carrier. Okay? So yan yung sagot natin sa number 14. Wala po tayong gagamitin Punnett square, it's simply analysis. Okay, ang problema lang talaga, minsan nalilito, hindi alam kung saan nanggagaling ang mga sex chromosomes. Ako guys, please, dapat by now alam nyo na kung saan galing yung mga sex chromosomes because that is basic, ay basic genetics. Ayun ha. So again, sa mga babae, 50-50 ng X chromosomes ninyo galing sa nanay, the other 50 galing kay tatay. Sa mga lalaki naman, wala po kayong nakukuhang X chromosome sa tatay ninyo ha. Y chromosome lang po. Kaya nga mother to son transmission. Kasi yung mga anak na lalaki, apektado lang sila ng X chromosome ni nanay. At least for X-linked. Okay? X-linked. For autosomal, this does not apply kasi remember that autosomal naman po ay hindi sa X chromosome nakalagay yung mga genes. Regular chromosomes lang. So I know guys, medyo info overload. Basta ang kailangan nyo lang tandaan dito yung pagkakapasa-pasa ng mga X chromosome from parents to offspring. Okay? So you can review that. Nakapya na po. Okay na? Okay. So again, answer natin letter A. And then, let's go to number 15. Madali lang to. So the pedigree below shows the inheritance Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome is an example of blank inheritance. Oh, magbibilang lang kayo dyan ng lalaki at saka babae na affected. What is the answer? Very good, letter B. Okay? So this is an example of an X-linked dominant inheritance. So again, magbibilang lang kayo ng lalaki at saka babae na shaded. So you have 1, 2, 3 shaded males. Tapos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na babaeng shaded. Ang sabi natin, kapag unequal yung number ng babae at saka lalaki na shaded, X-linked yan. Iisa lang naman yung X-linked natin dito. So letter B is the correct answer. Okay, on last 5 questions. So number 16, which of the following crosses would always result in an offspring that only displayed the dominant phenotype? Kapag sinabi natin na dominant phenotype, ang kanyang genotype would either be homodominant or hetero. So if you do the Punnett square, very good. So if you do the Punnett square, makuha nyo dyan, letter A. So kapag nag-cross kayo ng homodominant at saka ng homorecessive, you're always going to have heterozygote offspring. And heterozygote offsprings would always display the dominant phenotype. Okay? Ayan. So next, number 17. So for number 17, medyo mahaba lang to. And so in humans, the allele for black hair is dominant to the allele to brown hair. And the allele for curly hair is dominant to the allele for straight hair. When a person of unknown genotype is crossed against a straight and brown-haired individual, the phenotypic ratio is as follows. Okay? So what is the genotype of the unknown parent? Ang pinakamagandang gawin dyan, or kung hindi ka masyadong, hindi mo masyadong gamay yung genetics, ang pinakamadaling gawin is to trial and error. Ang problema, napakahaba. Okay? So what you can do is elimination. Process of elimination na lang. Ang sabi, yung given daw natin na parent ay straight and brown-haired individual, ito ang kanyang genotype. By the way, guys, this is what you call a dihybrid cross. Okay? You treat it the same way you do kapag iisa lang yung gene of interest. Okay? So, usually ang ginagawa natin dito, you take each gene separately. So, magko-cross muna tayo ng B bago natin i-cross yung C, tapos saka natin i-combine yung offspring. Mamaya. Okay? Pero yun. So, this is your dihybrid cross. First step natin, again, get ninyo yung genotype ng ating known parent. So, ito siya. Homorecessive B and C. Tapos, try natin na mag-eliminate ng choices. Si Curly Black, ang sabi natin kay Curly ay dominant. Kay black hair naman, siya rin ay dominant. Straight black naman ay recessive. Si black naman ay dominant. Brown naman ay curly brown naman. Curly is a dominant trait. Brown hair is a recessive trait. Tapos, si straight brown naman, this is a recessive and another recessive trait. Okay? So ngayon, binigyan tayo ng dalawang recessive. Sa tingin nyo ba, kapag kinross natin yan sa dalawang dominant, makakuha tayo ng dalawang recessive na traits sa ating offspring? Sa tingin nyo ba? Hindi, di ba? So most likely, ang makakuha nyo lang dyan, puro heterozygotes. So, X. O, letter B. Kapag kinross natin yung dalawang recessive with one hetero and one homodominant, makukuha ba natin tong straight brown? What do you think? Hindi rin. Okay? And what about letter C? Kapag kinross natin itong si recessive with another recessive, tapos itong si recessive C with a hetero C, makukuha ba natin yung all recessive? Yes. Pero, makukuha ba natin yung all dominant? No. So, X din. Ang matitira sa inyo, letter D, and letter D is the correct answer. So, this is how you answer number 17 without doing anything but elimination. Okay? Ito yung pinakamabilis na paraan ng pag-answer ng number 17. Sinisipon na ako. Anyway, so that's it for number 17. Letter D is the correct answer. May nabanggit ako kanina, paano naman kapag long cut yung gagawin? Kapag long cut, meron tayong tinatawag na take each gene separately. Minsan, independent yung ginagamit dito. Either way, pareho lang. So this means, itong si B at saka si C, gagawa natin sila ng separate na Punnett square. For example, itong si B, i-cross natin yan with your hetero na B. Ito namang si C, i-cross natin yan with your hetero na C. And then you do the Punnett square. Tapos kung ano yung makukuha ninyo na offsprings, ipagsasama-sama nyo lang sila hanggang sa mabuo ninyo lahat ng possible combination. Okay? So yun yung long cut. Pero again, guys, I highly discourage you to do that kasi it takes 5 to 10 minutes para gawin yung long cut ng number 17. So yung trial and error tapos magpa-Punnett square kayo isa-isa. It takes a long time. Okay? So ito yung best way of answering it. Analysis tapos elimination na. Okay na? And guys, so kapag dating sa NMAT, tapos may nakita kayo na question na medyo mahirap or medyo mahabang sagutan, pwede nyo namang i-skip na lang muna. Kasi, again, ang pinaka-problema talaga dito, yung time. Okay? So, regardless kung gaano kayo nag-review, kung hindi nyo naman matatapos, di ba, wala din. So, kapag feeling niyo medyo mahaba yung gagawin ninyo para lang masagutan yung isang number, skip over it. Balikan nyo na lang later. Kapag walang time, edi manghula. Problema ba yon? At least, mas marami kayo na sure na tamang sagot. So, yan ha. So, next, number 18. So, the first step of DNA replication will always involve the action of which enzyme? Diniscuss natin pa kanina. So, kung natatandaan ninyo yung listahan natin ng replication enzymes, the answer here is actually letter A, helicase. Ang unang step po is to unwind the DNA, ha? Yan yung unang step natin in the replication process. Okay? So, paki-copy. The last two questions for biology before we go to chem. Okay na? So, number 19. So, which of the following is not true about transcription? So, diniscuss din natin kanina yung transcription. Siguro naman may natatandaan tayong kaunti, no, about it. So, alin kaya dito yung hindi daw totoo about your transcription? Nabanggit ko din siya, although in passing. Ay, teka. Rinig ba ako, guys? Hmm. Rinig naman? Ayun, dun sa hindi ako naririnig, oh no. Teka. Sige guys, anong sagot niyo dito? Okay, very good. Answer is letter A. Okay? Ang sabi ko kanina, 'di ba? Ang ginagamit lang natin sa transcription is just a very small portion of the DNA template. Hindi yung buong DNA. Okay? This is small portion. In particular, ang ginagamit lang natin ay yung coding regions ng DNA. Okay? So, yun lang po yung ginagamit natin for transcription. So, letter A is the correct answer sa number 19. The rest po, so B, C, and D are all true about your transcription process. Okay? And then last, siguro naman guys, alam niyo na yung sagot dito. Oh, in the food web below, which is not an example of a food chain. Oh, basic. Grade 6 pa lang ata. Alam na dapat natin to. High school naman, sige. Anong sagot? Alin dito ang hindi daw po example ng food chain? Carelessness na lang guys kapag mali pa rin kayo dito. Okay, so be careful ha dun sa pagtingin dun sa mga arrows. Kapag food chain, dapat magkakasunod-sunod yung arrows dyan. And the, ano ba? And letter B is actually not an example of a food chain. Kasi kung titignan ninyo, from berries, so you have your titmouse, ang kasunod nito should be either your buzzard or yung fox. Okay? Wala po tayong arrow connecting the titmouse and the mouse. So, hindi yan food chain. Okay? So, for number 20, letter B po is the correct answer. So, feel free to copy the slide. Okay? Any questions, concerns, clarifications, or slides po na babalikan before we go to Chem? Yes po, babalikan natin yung answer key. Teka. Number 10. Sige. Paki-post lang dito guys yung mga babalikan na questions. And then, habang naghihintay yung iba, pwede po kayong magbanyo. Mag-CR din ako in a bit. Number 10 po, no? So, here is number 10. Yes, babay. Lagay lang ng mga numbers na babalikan. Pwede naman po tayong bumalik. Okay, okay na yung number 10. Okay, number 4. Hold on. Again, guys, while waiting, feel free po to take a bathroom break. Ay, 17 to 19. Ay, mali. Sorry. Okay. Ito yung 17. Okay, bilisan na lang. For bio po ba na NMAT, may ATP computation? ATP computation was from last time na part, no? Minsan meron. Although, ayun, yeah, better talaga na alamin. Yeah, reviewin nyo na lang guys yung computation ng ATP. Minsan nilalagay nila eh. Ito yung 18 pala. Okay? And then, ito yung number 19. Ayan. Okay na? Ayan. Chemistry. There we go. Okay, teka lang. Ito po yung 1. Ayan. So, sa chem, guys, bibilisan ko lang. Kasi, dapat na-discuss nyo na yun in detail nung ating lecture. Okay? So, may mga kaunting parts lang ako na i-discuss sa chem kasi parang hindi siya na-discuss nung lecture. But for most part, ayun, copy the slides na lang as fast as you can. Ay, di pa po ba kayo nagke-chem? Hindi pa po kayo nag-first session niya? Oh, no! Oh, no! O, sige. So, for this one, mabilis lang ako na discussion sa chem na part para lang alam niyo yung sagot dun sa exam. Pero magke-chem naman kayo, guys. Don't worry. So, kapag kunwari may mga questions kayo from today, pwede niyo siyang itanong dun sa lecture ninyo. Kasi hindi rin ganun kalaki yung allotted time talaga natin for chem kasi dapat nag-chem na kayo. Anyway, so that's not your fault, guys. Okay, it's nobody's fault naman. Okay, okay na, no? So, mag-chem lang tayo very quick. Again, take note na lang, guys, ng mga questions ninyo para matanong nyo siya dun sa lecturer ninyo for your chemistry session. Nawawala naman yung chem. Okay? Ayan. So, let's just go over this very quickly. Number 44, I think may correction to. Letter C dapat yan. So, 50 items. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, mabilis lang tayo dito. Kasi usually, pinapakopya ko lang talaga siya kasi nga, dapat nakapag-chem na. Pero it's fine, guys. Kaya natin to. So, pakicopy na lang po ng ating answer key. And while you're doing that, so let me just take a quick water and CR break. Okay? Pwede rin po kayong mag-CR break dun sa mga hindi pa rin nakakaalis. Sige? Kahit 11:15 tayo mag-start. Pakicopy na lang po ng answer key natin. And be prepared na lang pong mag-click for the screenshot. Okay?
Ayan. So, rinig pa rin ba ako, guys? Nag-lowbat kasi yung aking earphones. So, naririnig pa naman ba ako? Okay. So, let me know na lang ha kapag medyo mahina para lalakasan ko na lang yung boses ko. So, sige, let's just wait 1 more minute for the others to come back, lalo na yung mga nag-bathroom break. So, nakopya nyo na naman siguro to, no? Sige. So, again, medyo bilisan lang natin, ha? Paki-take note na lang po if you have any questions. Tapos, doon na lang sa lecturer ninyo itanong. Kasi ayaw natin na mag-overtime masyado today. So, alam ko, may klase pa ata kayo ng hapon. Ayan. Okay na, it's already 11:15 on my end. Let's go to number 1. Ayan. So for number 1, which of the following properties is an extensive property? So meron kasi tayong tinatawag na intensive and extensive properties of matter. Kapag sinabi natin na extensive property, ito po yung mga nakadepende sa volume. Okay? So kung nakadepende siya sa volume or amount of matter, alin kaya dito kay A, B, C, and D yung extensive property? Andyan na. Oh. Pag volume or amount ng matter, malamang volume. Okay? So, ang sagot natin, letter B. Okay? So, aaralin nyo rin to guys, dun sa lecture ninyo. For now, feel free to copy the slide po. Okay? Ayan. Number 2. What is the molecular formula of HCO2 with a molecular mass of 90? So, pakicopy na lang guys ng question and then I'll give you the solution. Okay? So, kapag sinabi natin pala na molecular formula, so hindi kayo familiar, it's basically a way of expressing yung mga multiples or yung concentrations ng isang compound. Okay? So, yung mga compounds kasi natin, may mga fixed yan na proportion. So, yung molecular formula, it's just your way of expressing it kapag pinarami natin siya. Still following the same proportion. So, aralin nyo rin yan guys dun sa ating lecture. But for the solution, madali lang to. So you are given the molecular mass. I-divide mo lang yan by the molar mass of the given compound. Siguro familiar naman kayo sa molar mass. The molar mass can be found in your periodic table. Okay? So ang given natin na compound is HCO2. Ang molar mass or atomic mass ng hydrogen is 1 gram per mole. Carbon is 12 grams per mole. Oxygen naman ay 16 grams per mole. I-multiply natin by 2 kasi dalawa yung oxygen atoms natin. Tapos yung total niyan, yan yung molar mass. So this is going to be 90 divided by 45. You get 2. Etong si 2, i-multiply mo lang yan sa HCO2. So you get H2C2O4. Okay? That's it for number 2. Okay na? Okay. So number 3 naman, ito hindi to dinidiscuss sa lecture, so I'll discuss this one. So naming of compound. So siguro kung nag-chemistry kayo, lalo na kung higher chem, familiar kayo kung paano to ginagawa. Pero for those who are not so familiar with this, so how do we do naming of compound? ang una ninyong gagawin ay maghahanap kayo ng double or triple bond. Okay? So, look for a triple bond. Kapag walang triple bond, hanapin nyo yung double bond. Tapos kung wala tayong problema. Okay? So, in this case, wala tayong triple bond, pero may double bond tayo dito. Ito yung double bond natin. At dahil nandito yung double bond natin, dito po tayo magsisimula ng assignment ng numbers. Kasi mag-a-assign po tayo ng numbers dun sa ating mga carbon. Okay? So, ito si carbon number 1. Ito naman, si carbon number 2. Ito si carbon number 3. Ito si carbon number 4. Take note, ang lalagyan nyo lang po ng number ay yung carbon chain. Dapat magkakasunod-sunod sila. Isa silang diretsong linya. Zigzag. Hindi naman straight line. Yeah, isa silang diretsong zigzag. So, this is how you are going to assign numbers. Again, ito yung carbon number 1 natin. We start dito sa rightmost corner kasi nandito located yung ating double bond. And then we end here sa leftmost side. Okay? Once na nakapag-assign na kayo ng numbers, so hahanapin ni C4 pala to. Sorry guys, C5 to. Yan. Hahanapin ninyo yung mga functional groups natin. Yung mga functional groups, malalaman nyo yan kasi sila yung nakalawit dun sa ating chain. Okay, pangit ng term, pero yun yun. Okay. So ito yung nakasabit dun sa ating chain. This is a methyl group. Okay. And then, ito lang naman yung nakasabit sa chain natin. Wala na tayong ibang functional group, so we stop here. Okay, so now, titignan natin kung saang number ng carbon naka-assign or nakasabit si methyl group. Si methyl group ay nakasabit po sa 4th carbon ng chain, kaya yan ay magiging 4-methyl. Next, kailangan nating hanapin kung nasaan si double or si triple bond. Si double bond po ay nagsisimula kay carbon number 1, kaya maglalagay tayo dito ng 1. And then we have here 10, 10. Kay pentene, so ENE yung ating suffix kapag tayo ay may double bond. Pentyne or YNE yung ginagamit natin kapag triple bond. Pentane naman yung Pentane or ANE naman yung ating suffix kapag puro single bonds lang yung meron. Kaya ang answer natin sa number 3 is letter B, 4-methyl 1-pentene. So this is the correct name of this compound. Okay. So guys, review yung naming ng compounds. Reviewin nyo rin yung mga different natin na functional groups na usually kinakabit sa mga compounds. Pero ito yung ating usual na ginagawa. Alright? Okay. So, bakit po ba dito tayo nagsisimula? Bakit nagtitake precedence itong si double bond? As much as possible kasi guys, yung triple at saka yung double bond natin, gusto natin na siya yung may pinakamababang numerical value. Okay? Gusto natin na nasa 1 or 2 lang yung number ng ating double bond. As for the methyl groups and other functional groups na nakasabit, okay lang kahit mataas yung number niyan. Okay? Ang pinaka-importante, mababa yung sa double or sa triple bond. And that's it for number 3. Nakikopya ko. And then, ito lang yung mas magandang version. Answer still is letter B. Okay na? So ito yung number 2. Question or yung solution? Okay na? Okay, so let's move on to number 4. So for number 4, the solubility of KClO3 or potassium chlorate is at 60 degrees Celsius is 25 grams per 100 grams of water. If at 60 degrees Celsius, 15 grams of the salt is dissolved in 50 grams of water, then the solution must be blank. So A, unsaturated, B, saturated, C, supersaturated, or letter D, diluted and saturated. Sige, feel free to copy the slide before I go to the next one. Pero guys, madali lang tong number 4. Actually, ratio and proportion lang to. Okay? Tapusin ko lang ha yung number 4 bago ko bumalik. Okay? So for this one, again, solubility would be the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a solvent under certain conditions. Okay, unsaturated, yan po ay, if nangyayari po yan kapag yung amount na dinidissolve natin mas mababa dun sa maximum. Saturated kapag sakto lang, supersaturated kapag napasobra yung dinidissolve natin. And usually, alam mo na supersaturated na kapag hindi mo na nadidissolve yung iyong nilagay na solute. Okay? Ang answer lang natin dito is letter C. Paano naging letter C? So, balikan natin mamaya yung question. But for now, pakikopya lang nitong explanation natin for solubility. Okay na? Okay po. So, let's go back to the question. Ang sabi ko sa inyo, simple ratio and proportion lang to. Ang sabi natin, solubility daw ng KClO3 or ng potassium chlorate is 25 grams per 100 grams of water. Tapos, ang gusto nating malaman, okay, ano kaya yung mangyayari kapag 15 grams yung dinisolve natin in 50 grams naman of water? So, dito guys, ang pwede nyo gawin natin, magkano kaya or ilan kayang solute yung kailangan natin or yung magiging solubility ni potassium chlorate kapag 50 grams of water yung ating solvent. Okay? So, ito muna, yung kailangan nyong hanapin. Okay? How much is the actual amount of potassium chlorate that you can dissolve in 50 grams of water? So, simple ratio and proportion. So, that's 25 times 50 over 100. Tama ba? Yeah. Over 100. And this is gonna give you, I think, 12.5? Tama ba? Nag-mental math na ako. Pero I think it's around 12.5 grams. So ito guys, yung magiging solubility natin ng potassium chlorate in 50 grams of water. Ang sabi natin, ang gusto daw nating i-dissolve ay 15 grams. So kung ito na yung maximum amount na dapat i-dissolve mo sa 50 grams ng tubig, what will happen to your solution if 15 grams yung i-dissolve natin? Is it A, B, C, or D? Very good. Letter C, supersaturated. Kasi masyado nang mataas, di ba? 2.5 grams na of the solute will no longer be dissolved in your solvent. Okay? So, yun lang guys yung ating solution for number 4. Again, it's a very simple ratio and proportion question. So, pakicopy na lang din ng ating solution. Guys, ha, pakibilisan natin yung pag-screenshot. Okay? So, we only have 30 minutes to finish 47 questions. 46 questions. Kaya ba natin? Pakibilisan po yung pag-screenshot. Then if you have any questions, you can always ask your lecturer kasi di pa naman po kayo nag-get. Anyway, ito po yung sa question number 2 kanina. May nagpapabalik. Okay? Number 5. Medyo bibilisan ko lang ha, para di tayo masyadong overtime. So for number 5, the largest sugar refinery in US exploded and the investigators discovered that the cause of the explosion was sugar. What reacted with sucrose that made it explode? So madalas guys, kapag may sunog or may explosion, ano dapat yung hindi natin idagdag na compound or element? In this case, element. Very good. Letter C, oxygen. Okay? So remember na kapag kayo ay nagsusunog, nagsisiga, di ba madalas pinapaypayan natin para lumagablab yung apoy. Okay? It's because you want to add more oxygen para mas lumakas yung kanyang combustion reaction. Okay? And this is actually a good example of a combustion reaction. Okay na? So ano ba yung combustion reaction? Okay, next. So it's an exothermic redox reaction of a substance with an oxidant. Usually, yung oxidant natin is oxygen. Okay? So, ayan. So, feel free to copy the slide. Sige po. Okay? Medyo malakas lang yung ulan. Number 6. Which of the following contains carbonyl group? Kapag sinabi natin ng carbonyl group, so it's a carbon double bonded to an oxygen. So, baka may nakakatanda. Halin kaya dyan yung example natin ng isang compound with a carbonyl group. Feel free to copy the slide na rin ha, guys. So, yung carbonyl groups natin, madalas natin yan makita sa aldehydes and sa ketones. And meron tayong very good example of a ketone dito sa ABCD, and it's acetone. Okay, so acetone here would have a carbonyl group. So, ito guys, yung acetone natin. Ito siya. Ano yung itsura niya? This is your acetone. So, reviewin nyo rin guys yung mga different organic compounds natin and organic groups. Kasi minsan lumalabas yan sa chem exam or sa chem portion ng NMAT exam. Okay? So, that's it for number 6. So, pakicopy na lang po nung slide. Okay? So, balikan ko lang real quick yung previous question. Ay, oh. Here you go. Okay? Number 7. So for number 7, a chemical reaction requires 2 moles of compound A and 1 mole of compound B in order to produce 3 moles of compound C. So if 3 grams of B is made to react with an excess amount of A, how much of C will be produced? So this is also something that you will discuss sa lecture. So for now, pakicopy na lang po muna ng ating slide before I show you the solution. Okay? So for the solution, so kailangan ko siyang gawin. So we have here 3 grams of B. Ito yung starting material natin. Okay? Itong si grams, kailangan natin itong gawing moles. And to do that, all you need to do is to divide 3 grams of B by its molar mass. Ang molar mass niya ay 9 grams. Yan. 1 mole of B. After that, so kailangan natin ngayong i-convert si B to C. Ang sabi natin dito, so dito tayo magre-refer sa ating reaction. 2 moles of A plus 1 mole of B is going to produce 3 moles of C. So if you have 1 mole of B, that's gonna give you 3 moles of C. Ganito daw. Okay? May 3 moles tayo ng C. Ang kailangan natin po ay yung grams ng C. So to do that, i-multiply lang natin yung moles of C by its molar mass. Okay? So 1 mole C dito sa taas is 11 grams. Okay? Cancel out yung mga units na pwedeng i-cancel out. Dapat ang matitira lang ay si grams of C. And this is gonna give you, I think, 11 grams of C, letter D. Okay? So yan yung solution sa number 7. Basta guys, kapag stoichiometry ang pinag-uusapan, ang pinaka-importante dito, ma-cancel out lahat ng units except sa desired unit ninyo. Kaya, ang first step talaga dito is to identify what is given and what is being asked. Okay? Ano yung desired unit natin at ano yung starting unit. And then from there, so try to do conversions para makuha ninyo si desired unit. So, yun lang naman yung core ng stoichiometry. Again, magkakaroon pa kayo ng more example sa lecture. For now, pakicopy na lang po ng solution. So, again, letter D is the correct answer. Okay. Ay na? O, number 8. So, for number 8, how long will it take for 18 grams of radium-226 to decay to leave a total of 2.25 grams? Radium-226 has a half-life of 1,600 years. So, feel free to copy the slide before I go to the solution. Solution nga pa to. Ang answer natin dito is letter C. Pero sige, may solution to. Okay? So for this one, napakadali lang nito. Meron tayong 18 grams. I-divide nyo lang po yan by 2 kasi nga half-life. So you're just gonna divide it by 2 hanggang sa ma-reach ninyo si 2.25. Okay? So 18 divided by 2, ito yung starting natin. And divide by 2, makuha ninyo is 9. Si 9, i-divide nyo lang yan by 2, makukuha nyo si 4.5. Si 4.5, i-divide nyo lang yan sa 2, makukuha nyo si 2.25. Okay? Kung ilang beses po kayo nag-divide by 2, i-multiply nyo lang yan dun sa given half-life in years. So that's gonna be 3 cycles ng division by 2 times 1,600. Again, itong si 1,600 yung half-life of your radium-226. Given ito kanina. So 3 times 1,6 is just gonna give you 4,800 years or letter C. Okay? And favorite din tong half-life sa NMAT. So, kopyahin niyo yung solution. Pero again, madali lang naman yan, guys. So, don't worry. Okay? Okay? Ayan, guys. On number 9. Which of the following is an ionic compound? Kapag sinabi natin na ionic, it's metal plus non-metal. So, alin kaya dito kay A, B, C, D, yung metal plus non-metal, kung natatandaan ninyo? While you're thinking, go ahead and copy the slide na po. Okay, so metal natin would be magnesium and non-metal natin is chlorine. So metal chloride or letter B is the answer to number 9. Okay? Again, pag sinabi natin na ionic compound, so it's metal plus non-metal. Okay, so it also involves the transfer of electrons. Kapag tinanong naman kayo, covalent compounds, so ito po ay composed of non-metals. And usually involves the sharing naman po of electrons. Okay. Again, letter B po is the correct answer. Feel free to copy the slide. Okay na? On number 10. So for number 10, which of the following is true about the given reaction when an amount of NO2 is added? Sige, bago ako bumalik dun sa number 8, sagutin lang muna natin to. So kapag nagdagdag tayo ng NO2, NO2 is a product. Dinagdagan daw natin si product. So paano kaya yung magiging shift natin in equilibrium? Will it shift to the left, to the right, walang effect, or will it shift to produce more NO2? Okay, nakopya na ba? Ayan. So kapag nadadagdagan yung ating product side, ang usual na nangyayari, nag-shift tayo ng equilibrium papunta sa reactant side or we shift to the left. Kaya ang tamang sagot dito, letter A. Okay? Kapag naman sa reactant side yung dinagdagan, saka tayo mag-shift to the right to produce more products. Okay? So, ganon nag-work yung equilibrium natin, ha? It always goes to the opposite direction kung saan tayo nagdagdag para mabalik natin sa equilibrium. And this is an example of your Le Chatelier's principle. Okay? Okay na? So, si Le Chatelier's principle, so this happens when a reaction in equilibrium is disturbed. And what happens is that your reaction will proceed dun sa opposite direction na mag-restore dun sa equilibrium natin. So sa number 10, it's going to proceed faster to the left or towards the reactant side kasi nga yung dinagdagan natin is the product side. Okay? So kapag dito ka nagdagdag, pa-right yung iyong equilibrium shift. Kapag dito ka nagdagdag, pa-left yung equilibrium shift. Okay? So that's it for number 10. Paki-copy na lang po. Okay? Okay na po, guys. So, medyo bilisan natin yung pag-screenshot, ha? So, balikan lang natin daw yung number 8. So, for number 8, paano ulit ginawa yung half-life? Again, you were given 18 grams po of your radium-226. Ang gusto nating malaman, gaano katagal ba bago to maging 2.25 grams na lang? Because we are dealing with half-life, etong radium-226 natin, every 1,600 years, nababawasan siya ng kalahati. Gets? Kaya siya half-life. So, yung half ng mass ng ating radium-226, nawawala yon, nababawas yon every 1,600 years. Kaya ang gagawin natin dito, from 18 grams, we have to divide it by 2. Okay? Yung kalahati ng mass niya, mawawala yon in 1,600 years. So that's one cycle. Then after that, si 9, di-divide mo by 2, you're gonna get 4.5. Yun na lang yung matitira sa mass mo. And then di-divide mo ulit siya by 2 to get 2.25. That means it took 4,800 years po para mawala yung, ilan ba yun? 2.25. Ilan ba yung 15.75, I guess? Tama ba ako ng math? Ayan. So, for us to lose 15.75 grams of radium-226, it took us 4,800 years. Okay? So, yun lang. Yun lang yung half-life, guys. Okay? So, huwag nyo masyadong pa-complicated. Yan, nagiging complicated dahil i-explain ko in a complicated way. Pero basically, all you have to do is divide it by 2, multiply it by the half-life, and you're done. Okay? So, that's it for number 8. Tapos, isa tayo dito sa 10. Ayan, 11. So, number 11 na tayo. So, an ice block weighing 500 grams is exposed to 16 kcal of heat. So, how much of the ice would be left unmelted? So, dito guys, ang gagamitin lang naman natin ay yung ating formula for your latent heat of fusion. Okay? So, latent heat of fusion lang. And that's Q equals M times L. So, I'll show you the solution in a bit, but for now, kindly copy na lang po yung slide natin. Okay na? And here's the solution. So, substitute lang naman tayo ng values dun sa ating formula. Again, this is your formula. Q is equal to ML. Okay? Okay, yung Q po natin, so that is the heat that you applied. Tapos M naman is the mass, L is the latent heat of fusion which was given. Etong 16,000, galing yan kay 16 kcal. Okay, kinonvert lang natin into calories para pareho sila ng unit with the latent heat of fusion. And then, once nakuha nyo na yung mass, so the mass is 200 grams, pero this is melted ice. Okay? So, melted ice kasi ito yung mass na in-applyan natin ng heat. Ang gusto nating makuha is the mass of unmelted ice. So, what you need to do is to subtract 200 from the original mass of the ice block, which is 500 grams. That's gonna give you 300 grams of unmelted ice, or letters. So, pakikopya po. Then number 12. So what property of a substance determines its resistance to temperature change? So this is simply your specific heat capacity or letters. So please guys, sabihin nyo yung mga different chemistry concepts natin. Sa yung mga latent heat of fusion, vaporization, specific heat capacity, even coefficient of thermal expansion. So madali lang naman yan, tatandaan nyo lang yung mga concepts. Kasi minsan, nagtatanong sila ng mga ganitong klaseng objective type of questions. Okay? And the next number 13. For number 13, the concentration of a sample of ammonia is to be determined by titration using sulfuric acid with a known concentration. Which of the following indicators, given their pH range for color change, would be ideal? So kung hindi kayo familiar, titration is a chemistry technique kung saan nagdadagdag tayo ng small amounts of either acid or strong base to a solution para malaman natin yung concentration ng solution na yon. In this case, meron tayong sample daw ng ammonia. Tapos, dadagdagan natin siya ng kaunting patak, yan, konting drops ng sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is a very strong acid. Meanwhile, your ammonia is a relatively weak base. So if you are going to add strong acid to a weak base, ano yung i-expect mo na resulting pH? Acidic, basic, or neutral? Okay. Most likely, magiging acidic yung ating solution. And kung acidic yung solution, what would be the best indicator to use? Okay, very good. It's letter D, your methyl red. Okay, methyl red, yung pinakamagandang gagamitin dito kasi siya yung nasa acidic na range. Okay, so that is how you answer number 13. Okay, so again guys, pag strong acid plus weak base, acidic po yung magiging resulting solution. That's why you choose an indicator na nasa acidic range. Kapag naman weak acid tapos strong base, most likely basic po yung magiging resulting solution. Kaya basic range yung titignan ninyo dun sa indicator. Kapag naman parehong strong yung acid at yung base natin, magiging neutral po yung resulting solution. Kaya you have to look for an indicator na nasa neutral na zone. Okay? That's it for number 13. Pakikopya po. And then again, ito yung ating guide. So, pakicopy na lang din. Okay? So next number 14. So in the reaction above, which substance acts as a Bronsted-Lowry base? Kapag sinabi natin na Bronsted-Lowry base, this is your proton acceptor. So alin dito kay A, B, C, and D yung nag-accept ng proton or ng H+? So based dito sa ating equation, ang nadagdagan dito ng H plus is your CH3OH. So letter B is the correct answer. Okay. Kapag naman tinanong kayo, alin dyan yung Bronsted-Lowry acid, so siya naman po yung donor. Siya yung namimigay ng H plus. So this is going to be your proton donor. Or yung Bl acid. Okay? So let's at least try to finish half. Kasi yung other half naman, medyo ano na yun, objective type. So let's go to number 15. So what is the molecular geometry of CO2? So yung CO2 natin, we have a central carbon sa gitna, double bonded to 2 oxygen atoms. And this is letter A, B, C, or D. Very good. This is your linear. Okay. Mapakikopya. Okay. So ito guys, yung ating reference for your geometries. Pwede nyo kopyahin. So this is what they look like. So ito yung linear. Yan, pareho yung linear. Okay, you have your trigonal planar, your angular, tetrahedral, trigonal pyramidal, trigonal bipyramidal, and octahedral. So ito yung mga itsura nila. May copy na lang po for your reference. Okay? Next po. So number 16, which of the following will not form a buffer solution? Kapag sinabi natin na buffer solution, this is usually a weak base plus its conjugate acid or a weak acid plus its conjugate base. So, alin kaya dyan yung hindi mag-form ng buffer? Alright, very good. Letter C. Why? Kasi si acetic acid at saka si hydrochloric acid ay parehong acid. Okay? And kumpara sa ng acids, they won't be forming any buffer solution. Okay? Again, buffer solutions are always between a weak base and a conjugate acid or a weak acid and a conjugate base. Okay? So, kindly copy. Okay. Number 17. Yung number 17, guys, i-discuss to sa lecture. So, I think super in-depth yung discussion dito sa lecture. Kaya, ibibigay ko lang sa inyo yung sagot. But this is a question on balancing reactions. Again, i-discuss po ito sa lecture. Ang sagot po is letter C. So, for now, pakicopy na lang po nung sagot. At saka nitong slide. Okay? Pag balancing equations naman, madali lang naman yan. So, you just have to make sure na lahat ng elements sa reactant at saka sa product side ay pareho ng number. Okay? Or pareho ng value. Okay? So again, i-discuss po ito sa lecture. Very in-depth. Medyo mahaba kasi kapag ginawa pa natin today. Okay, 12 na. Okay? And then next po, number 18. Which of the following physical properties describes the ability of a liquid to assume a shape with the smallest possible surface area? So for this one, the answer is just letter D, surface tension. Okay? Ayan. So viscosity naman po has something to do with how fast or slow your liquid is. Malleability naman, this is usually in solids. Okay? And then adhesion naman is kung gaano kadikit. Usually sa solids din to. So for number 18, letter D is the correct answer. Pakikopya po. Okay. And then number 19, so sunscreens protects the skin from its harmful effects by absorbing UV radiation. Commercially available sunscreens contain a benzene ring in the structure of the active ingredient. Okay, so which of the following might be effective active ingredient for commercial sunscreens? Ang kailangan nyo lang tignan dito, sino yung may benzene ring. Si benzene ring po ay yung piatos na may equally spaced na double bonds sa loob. So the answer here should be letter, yan, very good, letter A. So ito yung benzene ring natin. Okay? So go ahead and copy po. Okay? And then number 20, yan. So in the combustion reaction above, if 460 grams of ethyl alcohol is made to react with 480 grams of oxygen gas, which would be the limiting reagent? And so pakikopya po nung question. So kapag limiting and excess reagents yung pinag-uusapan, ang answer nyo lang po dapat ay nasa reactant side. Okay? So you can already pinpoint your answer. So pwede na po either ethyl alcohol or oxygen lang yung magiging sagot. Okay? So ganun ha, kapag limiting at saka excess, you only look at the reactant side. So with that, ang first step natin is to always balance the reaction. In this case, swerte tayo kasi balanced na yung reaction. Pero pagdating po sa exam, you have to make sure na yung binigay sa inyong reaction ay nakabalance na. Kasi gagamitin ninyo yung mga coefficient dun sa equation. Okay? Para masagutan natin or para matuloy natin yung solution. And then as for the solution, ito siya. So, ang gagawin nyo lang, so yung mass natin ng reactants, gagawin lang natin siyang moles. Tapos yung moles, i-divide lang natin siya by the coefficient. Si coefficient po, andito siya sa ating equation. Kaya ang sabi ko kanina, napaka-importante na mag-balance tayo ng equation before we start. Kasi you are going to use the coefficients para malaman kung sino si excess at sino si limiting. Okay? Kung sino yung mas mababa yung value, siya yung limiting reagent. Okay? Kung sino yung mas mataas, edi siya yung excess. Again, limiting reagent po yung unang nauubos kapag po tayo ay nag-experiment. It's the first reagent to get used up in your experiment or in your reaction. So for number 20, the answer po is letter C. Don't worry guys kasi i-discuss nyo rin to in depth sa lecture. Okay, so for now, it's very important lang po for you to copy the solution para may guide kayo. Okay? Okay. So let's just go up until 25. Konti na lang naman yun. So for number 21, so given the following substances, what substance will melt at 200 degrees Celsius? So dito guys, of course, ang una niyong titignan is yung melting point. Okay. Kapag mas mababa sa 200 yung melting point niya, ibig sabihin, nagme-melt siya. Kaya at this temperature. So, for this one, sure tayo na at 200 degrees Celsius, nagme-melt si water at nagme-melt si mercury. Pero, okay, pareho ba silang nagme-melt lang talaga at 200 degrees? Kailangan yung tignan si boiling point. Kapag yung boiling point nila ay less than or equal to 200, that means na yung substance na yon ay nagbo-boil na at this temperature. If you look at their boiling points, water is already boiling at this temperature. Meanwhile, mercury, melting pa rin yan. Okay? Kaya ang sagot natin sa number 21 is just letter C. Okay? Si mercury lang po ang magme-melt at 200 degrees Celsius because at 200 degrees Celsius, water is already boiling. Okay? Number 22. So, given the chemical reaction below, which substance is reduced? Okay? Kapag sinabi natin na reduction, ito po yung ating element or ito yung ating compound na nag-i-increase in negativity or nag-gain ng electrons. In negativity. Okay? Kaya ang sagot natin dito sa number 22 is letter C. So from a positive na oxidation state, si Ag positive 1 ang kanyang oxidation state, naging 0 na lang, that means naging siya ng isang electron, mas naging negative ang kanyang charge, kaya siya po yung na-reduce. Okay? So that's for number 22. Basta guys, for reduction and oxidation, tatandaan nyo lang yung mnemonics natin. So kung hindi kayo familiar dun sa mnemonics, we have your Leora and Geroa. Leora meaning loss of electrons is oxidation, therefore it is a reducing agent. Geroa naman, gain of electrons is reduction, therefore it is your oxidizing agent. Okay? Yan po yung mnemonics natin. Until now, yan yung ginagamit ko. Yan din yung ginamit ko kanina, kaya ako nalaman na na-reduce yung silver. Okay? So, dapat alam nyo to. Okay? Magagamit nyo to, hindi lang po para sa exam, pero wherever you need reduction and oxidation. Okay? So, please review yung ating mnemonics. Leora, Geroa. And then, next po. So, for number 23, so which of the following is a component of toothpaste? Siguro naman, alam niyo kung ano yung sagot dito. This is highly advertised kahit sa TV, radio, whatever. Sagot lang natin dito is calcium fluoride. Okay? Nakopya na? And then number 24, so last two bago tayo umalis. So number 24, which of the following is a metal? So if you can remember, yung ating periodic trends, yung mga elements natin na nandun sa lower bottom ng periodic table are very metallic in property or characteristic. Therefore, the answers to number 24 is letter D, potassium. Okay, so potassium, I think this is a group 1 element. So, nandun yan sa lower left ng periodic table. Okay? So, letter D for number 24. And then, last na for today, so number 25, an equilibrium reaction exists between reactants A and B and products X and Y. Which of the following would produce more amounts of X? So, ang sabi, A plus B will produce X and Y. So, what do you have to do para mas dumami yung ating X? Siyempre, kapag tinanggal natin si Y sa picture or dun sa reaction, lahat ng efforts natin ay mapupunta lang sa production ng X. Kaya, ang tamang sagot dito is simply letter D, removing Y. Okay? And I think hanggang dyan na lang muna tayo. So kung meron kayong mga questions for numbers 26 to 30, you can ask your lecturer kasi hindi na natin ito matutuloy. Ayan, ito na talaga yung end for Chem. So itanong nyo na lang guys dun sa lecturer ninyo. You have a copy naman po of the quiz. Tapos binigay ko rin po sa inyo yung ating answer. Okay? May kopya po kayo ng quiz. So masasagutan nyo to. Alright? Again, if you have questions po regarding 26 to 30, 30 tuloy, 26 to 50, you can ask your lecturer po. Okay? Dun sa inyong Chem na session. Okay, number 19. Teka lang po. Ito po yung sa number 19. Okay na? And then, ito po yung answer key for chemistry. Pakikopya guys ha, para may guide kayo kapag nagsagot ulit kayo. Ayan, so yung chem nyo pala yung susunod nyo na class. So, sakto lang. Okay? So, if you have questions, lalo na dun sa first 20, kasi yun talaga yung may mga solutions. So, feel free po to ask your lecturer. Okay? So, yan na din. Nilink na rin guys yung quiz number 1 ninyo. So, kung may mga gustong magsagot ng remaining questions, feel free to do so. Ito na po yung link. Tapos, balik ko lang po dun sa lecture kanina. Doon naman po sa mga wala namang ibang questions or okay na po, nakopya na yung kailangan kopyahin. Pwede na po kayong mag-lunch. Muna na kayo guys kasi you have to go back po later. Yan. Pero dun sa mga may papakopya pa, ayan po, answer key for bio. Here you go po. So ito naman yung answer key for biology. Okay. So again guys, if you have any questions for Chem, itanong nyo na mamaya. Lalo na dun sa 26 to 50. So kung may hindi tayo, syempre hindi natin na-discuss. So kung meron kayong parang feeling nyo, hindi nyo alam kung paano sasagutan, yan, please ask your lecturer na para ma-address later. Okay? And then yung questions guys, ayan na binigay na po sa inyo. Nakalink na po dyan. Ay, mali po. So, paki-check na lang ha. Pero, teka lang. So, for number 9. Again, feel free na po to take your lunch. Go ahead, guys. Thank you so much po. And good luck po sa exam. Lalo na dun sa mga mag-exam, I think in 2 months. Tama ba? January, no? Ayun. Good luck po. And see you around. Have a great lunch po. Bye, guys! Thank you po.